Have you ever wanted something so bad that you would do anything to get it? You want it so bad that you're willing to subject yourself to 4 years of higher learning? You put yourself through blood, sweat, tears, even the embarrassment of a public speaking course? What if this one thing that you're so dedicated to sucks? You may have heard of the curse of the monkey's paw, which would grant your every wish and desire, but with an evil, dark twist. Good evening, fellow public speakers. I'm David Leonardson, and I'm here to talk about crunch culture within the video games industry and why it is a biblical plight on our society. I am a computer science major, and it's always been one of my dreams to work in games development. Naturally, through my own childlike curiosity, I have uncovered the horror stories of the industry, detailing horrible working conditions, all due to what is known as crunch culture. First, I will explain exactly what crunch culture is and provide examples of it. Secondly, we will explore the causes of crunch culture. Lastly, we will look into the solutions of crunch. So, now with all that being said, let's see exactly what crunch is. Aside from having a high turnover rate, low job security, and being paid less than alternate fields, crunch is an issue that has plagued the gaming industry for decades and continues to do so to this day. Crunch typically refers to a short-term period where overtime becomes a necessity to hit certain deadlines and milestones. The problem here is this short-term period actually extends into months, sometimes into over a year of working overtime. And this isn't just working 15 minutes of overtime, we're talking 100-hour work weeks, working nights and weekends. In an interview by GamesIndustry.biz, published in 2016, industry veteran Amy Hennig, known primarily for her work at Naughty Dog Studios, creators of the Uncharted series, she describes her personal experience as having worked 80-hour work weeks for over a decade. She details the toll that this had on her and her coworkers' health, as well as the damage done to relationships back at home, in the worst cases, some of which ended in divorce. Unfortunately, this unhealthy culture of crunch persists even to this day. Just last year, we saw the release of the highly anticipated title Cyberpunk 2077. In an open letter to investors, it was revealed that the developers were crunching for over a year, working nights and weekends. Despite delays of deadlines, the whole point of which was to avoid crunching. This all just sounds terrible, right? Well, let's now look into the causes of crunch, namely mismanagement, unrealistic deadlines, and exploiting passionate employees. In most cases, higher-ups are to be blamed for the cause of crunch, as management fails to properly plan out a project. In an article by Forbes covering the closure of the game studio Team Bondi, creators of the critically acclaimed LA Noire, the game was in production for 7 years, much longer than the typical game development cycle. There were also accounts of 100-hour work weeks by employees, and then the sudden closure of the studio right when the game was released. Now, obviously, this mismanagement caused much more than crunch. There was also the loss of hundreds of jobs. But even though this is a horrible example, it is a very common one. A more recent version of that above example would be the closure of Telltale Games, developers of the award-winning The Walking Dead video game series, which went through a very similar closure, with the addition of former management being found to have violated numerous California labor laws. So, in other words, game studios are being run by inhumane supervillains. Another cause, which is technically still in the form of poor management, is the exploitation of eager employees. In an article by Polygon published in 2018, covering the controversy of Rockstar Games, the developers of the Grand Theft Auto series, there was an interview with one of the studio's founders who proudly revealed the 100-hour work week as a sort of badge of honor showcasing the amount of work being put into the game. These intense working conditions are now being spun into a positive light. There are other terms for this technique, such as Stockholm Syndrome and brainwashing and gaslighting. And for you literary majors or English majors out there, doublethink from the George Orwell novel, I think. Anyways, now that we've seen the causes of crunch, can anything be done to prevent this? Unfortunately, not really. Things have been steadily improving over the years, but it is still a very prominent issue. There are no quick or easy solutions. In an interview with reporter.edu, industry veteran John Vennerin provides shaky solutions, such as unionization of game developers or utilizing social media to highlight the issues to the public in order to garner support. Unfortunately, these will not deter eager young employees from subjecting themselves to following their dreams. In conclusion, we have now explored the dreaded crunch of the gaming industry. We've seen the horrible work-life balance that it provides. We've also witnessed some of the causes, mainly stemming from a common form of mismanagement, resulting in not just crunch, but the loss of hundreds of jobs. And finally, we have found the solutions, which are very unlikely to change anything. This is a very dour ending indeed. There is no end in sight. Conditions are slowly improving, but the only realistic thing one can do is inform yourself of the working conditions of your career. Do your own research and set your expectations accordingly. Thank you. That's the end.